Racing action on Tim's Corner Motorsports is presented by Pache Motors, the largest Ram truck dealer in Atlantic Canada. Browse their inventory online at pachemotors.com. Tranquility. Help for anxiety is only a click away. Learn more by visiting tranquility.app. Finish Line Vinyl Design, the official decal supplier of Tim's Corner Motorsports. Like them on Facebook at facebook.com/finishline vinyl design. And by CB Warren's Auto Care.
Hey, I'm CTWE wrestler The Mac.
And I'm Showtime Stevie Stamos.
Have you ever dreamed of owning your own race car and taking it out for a test drive? Well, thanks to our friends at Rent a Race Car, you can!
Visit www.rentaracecarne.com for all the details on how you can take one of these babies out to Stafford Motor Speedway. We'll see you at the races.
Touchdown!
Friday night's all right for fighting, and Friday night's all right for racing. It's NEPS night here in America and in Canada, eh? NEPS SuperTruck Series here for the Shift Marketing and Design north of the border, 45 minutes here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And I've probably completely butchered that. Showtime Paul Strickland Jr. here in the production trailer, kicking it over to the commentary booth, where we've got our resident Canadian Tim Terry and Kyle Handful of Pescetti Meatballs Young over there calling commentary for tonight's race. How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
I've been outed for my dinner, and I don't know how I feel about that. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Montreal, Quebec, Canada. One of my favorite road courses on the iRacing service. Very much looking forward to this race. It's a shame that we don't get to watch this racetrack in real life NASCAR anymore, but we can still do it in virtual NASCAR, and we get to do that tonight, 45 minutes here for the NEPS SuperTruck Series. I know I'm excited. Tim, there's a very small number of Canadian racetracks here on iRacing, and while you are still very far away from this racetrack in reality, it's got to be pretty cool to call a Canadian race.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's only 12 hours away from where we are. We're closer to Loudon than we are there. Same thing with Brent Roy, but he'll start 18th tonight. Got a couple of EOL penalties being assessed here, so a couple of these drivers, I guess, Kyle, want to start at the back and make it a little bit rougher on themselves than it might already be. But we were told earlier tonight, 45 minutes in length. None of those random cautions that we've seen in the Shift Marketing Design Grand National Series when we go to road courses, so these guys are going to have to be on it and be on it for the full 45 minutes. Those guys that did the 24 hours of Daytona last week might be in the hand. It might help them a little bit as they come off it looks like the final corner. We're getting ready to go racing here.
Wasting little time, a very quick pace lap, and we are grading the north of the border, 45 underway here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. They will race down into the first set of turns. It is a hard-braking left-right combination. Top two still side by side. The lanes change very quickly here, and Zane Farrell will take over coming out of turn number 2. A couple trucks making contact further back in the field, but they survive. Everybody will race down into turn number 3.
And I think the Two Drunk Esports boys have got to the ticker because I don't think we're running that many laps here this evening. 45 minutes to be run around this racetrack, so you're going to have to be on it. They're turning lap times of just under 2 minutes. 13 truck around. That's DJ Gerard, and he will lose. There's one more. Charles Lewandowski. We got a big one.
Multiple trucks scattered all over this racetrack. At least 5 trucks have been involved. You can see the 13 of DJ Gerard right there. starting to billow some smoke out of that student driver number 13 machine, so he is going to have himself a very rough night here tonight, going to try to get that truck back going, but not going to be good. That very well may be the truck that does not count for points for that team student driver team. We'll remind you that with this being a team series, these teams, 4 drivers apiece, only the top 3 finishing drivers will score points for each team. So right now you're getting a look at race leader Zane Farrell out here running around the opening lap with the race lead. Who knew that Zaney was a talented road course racer? Looking fairly good so far here on this opening lap.
Yeah, impressed a few weeks ago when we hit Watkins Glen with the Zany at the Glenny for the Shift Marketing and Design Grand National Series. Came up very strong at the end, but we also had a caution late in that race to help that out a little bit. They come through the final couple of corners, and we'll complete lap number 1 here as they come under the Napa Bridge and across the start-finish line here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as Farrell takes the lap number 1 lead. Bulkey had a great run going for most of the race at Las Vegas last week, and Las Vegas completely different than what is here, which is cool with this SuperTruck series. But Las Vegas, I know you were in Daytona last week, Kyle, covering that Daytona 24, but we saw some excellent racing. Didn't know who was going to be the winner because of that draft package near the end, and it shook up a little bit of the team points, but now we have Farrell, Bulkey up in front, 2 different teams, 1-2, and then John Peters sitting back here in position number 3. You want to talk about road course ringers? You almost have to look at a guy like John Peters, who's always been strong at these places, and Evan Boiler, but Boiler might have got caught up in that first lap incident, didn't really get going. He's 16 seconds behind the pace right now in position number 10, so he's got a ways to go with no caution to help him. That's not going to play in his favor.
Yeah, taking a look at the front end of that number 56 machine, and you can see a little bit of damage on the left front of that truck, but doesn't seem to be too bad as he works his way around this racetrack. So he did definitely have some involvement in one of those previous opening lap incidents, but that truck for the most part still in fairly good shape, and he came across the line that first time in position number 10, trying to see where he's located at the moment. He might be around 7th place right now. He's made some passes during this second lap. He's out of order from what the relative scoring is showing at the moment, so Evan Bullier making some moves here thus far after some early race drama.
Yeah, 2 spots in behind him right now is Brent Roy. That would be your 10th place driver, I do believe, and he's got a little bit of damage to that Team BBY recar number 26, and one of those drivers that we didn't see here last week because he was racing at Daytona in the 229 Motorsports car to kick off the Daytona 24 on Friday evening, but you're right on board with him. He's got a little bit of left rear damage to that race truck, so it's going to handle a little bit different. As we mentioned, this is kind of his home race, but still, it's an 8-hour drive or so away, depending how fast you drive through the Trans-Canada Highway up to Montreal. But we'll ride on board with Brent Roy here as he goes through the first couple of corners, and currently sitting position number 10, trying to catch Mike Hopkins in front of him.
This is a very challenging combination, Tim. I don't know if you've ever driven any of these NASCAR stock cars on this road course, but from my experiences, this is a very narrow road course. It's extremely flat, and it's a really slow road course too. You don't really have a lot of opportunities for a lot of high-speed straightaways. You got 1, maybe 2 or 3, but not really too many opportunities to really stretch the legs and get these things wound up. So finesse is going to be extremely important here tonight. You need to make sure that you hit your marks, you minimize your mistakes, keep the truck on the track, and keep it pointed in the right direction. As mentioned, with not a lot of opportunities, or with a narrow racetrack, there are not a lot of opportunities to make a mistake and get away with it. If you get yourself crossed off, there's a very good likelihood that you're going to end up in some type of retaining wall, guardrail, whatever you find around this 2.71 mile road course. So you really want to be careful as you're working your way through this race tonight.
You're right on board with John Peters as he tries to catch up to those top 2, the FPY Motorsports number 51, the reigning champion in the Shift Marketing Design Grand National Series, is running in position number 3. Nice shot from the right-hand side of that truck, closing in on Bulkey and Farrell. And as you can see, Austin Bulkey has caught Zane Farrell for that top spot. Hasn't been able to really make a move on Zaney yet, but as they battle and Zane and Austin kind of feel that pressure in from behind, John Peters reeling him in. The good news for these 3, Kyle, is they have about 18 seconds-ish or so back to Brandon Newhouse, Corey Casagrande, and the rest. And actually, Newhouse has a little bit of an advantage back to 5th. So lots of racing to still accomplish here. These guys will have to make, I would think, at least 2 pit stops. I think the fuel load's at 75%. I would think they'd have to make at least 2 pit stops, but that's why I'm up here and not on those pit boxes. So plenty of time for these drivers up in front, over 45 minutes, or what would be left, probably about 40 minutes to have an off, have an issue on pit road. They've got to be on it every single moment around this racetrack.
Yeah, you don't really realize how big of an impact not having a caution flag in a race is until you're in that situation. It doesn't allow you to rebunch up with the field. So these top 3 drivers, they're looking in very good shape already. They're still well, just under 40 minutes left to go in this race. But as you mentioned, a huge gap back to Brandon Newhouse right here in truck number 3. They're just about getting set to go into the final chicane as he's just coming out of the hairpin there to come down this long straightaway. So that just goes to show you how big of an advantage that these guys have over Brandon Newhouse. And Newhouse is kind of in a world of his own right now as well. He's plenty far off of John Peters, but he's also got about 4.5 seconds back to 5th place Corey Casagrande as well.
And looking back here, he is the top driver. He was the top driver. We're looking at Newhouse. That was a part of this team student driver team. And there was a whole lot of black and yellow involved in that first lap wreck. So DJ Gerard had to take a tow back to pit road. He's back on the racetrack, but he is 1 lap down. Mike Hopkins is the next driver in line in position number 9, and he's actually right in front of DJ Gerard for team student driver, but on the lead lap. So 2 of those drivers sit in the top 10 right now, but Brandon Newhouse trying to fly their flag up in position number 4. Top 3 continue to do their thing up in front, and Paul had Evan Boiler on the screen there just a moment ago, and he's got that little bit of rear end damage to the left rear. It's almost kind of like a tattoo for everybody outside of the top 3. Kyle, as we saw Brent Roy a little bit earlier on with that damage. I believe Charles Lewandowski had a little bit of that damage as well. Actually, he's got the right-hand side scuffed up on that Brembo number 01 as he has a little bit of an off as well. So it's almost like every one of these trucks had a little piece of that first lap wreck, or they have a little bit of damage to show for it.
Had a fairly big moment happen just a few seconds ago there, Tim. If you take a look over at the top front of the field, you're going to notice that there's a truck missing from that group, and that's going to be the 51 machine of John Peters. He made a mistake, got himself spun around over there in, I believe it was turn number 4, so he has lost about 8 seconds now back to Austin Bulkey. He didn't hit anything, he did not slam into any of the walls, he only did a lazy half spin, but it cost him a lot of time, and now he's got some serious work to do if he's going to reel in those top 2 again.
We might have to get Paul to pull up a Raise Energy Drink replay on that one because you mentioned 8 seconds is the difference now between himself and Austin Bulkey and Zane Farrell up in front. The good news, Paul, though, is that John Peters, we've seen him race on road courses before. I think he might be able to reel them in over the next 30-something minutes. What you got?
Yeah, for sure. Taking a look at a Raise Energy Drink instant replay here under the green flag, and you can see John Peters just losing the back end of that race truck, dollar in the jar. It's a truck, not a car. The FPY machine, he backs it up, slams it in reverse, slams it back into first. Able to get it pointed in the right direction, but like you guys made mention, it looks like the gap is now just about 9 seconds. But it looks like the 24 of Austin Bulkey also has some issues because John Peters, according to timing and scoring, has just moved into the 2nd position.
Hey, Kyle, he just had an off, did Austin Bulkey, and now John Peters is going to pick up that 1 spot. And almost similar to what we saw a little bit earlier, and we mentioned the focus with these race trucks. You have to stay focused for 45 minutes. Just looked like Austin may have lost that focus for just a little bit. Now Zane Farrell, the worst thing you can do is give the leader time to breathe because that's usually gives him an opportunity to overdrive that racetrack.
We were talking about limiting your mistakes, and both of these drivers here that you see in positions 2 and 3 have struggled with that here in these opening 5 or 6 circuits around this racetrack. And the issue there you saw with Austin Bulkey, just overdrove the turn. It's so easy to do here at this racetrack. It's completely flat. There's not an ounce of banking anywhere around this racetrack. Very little, if any, elevation change. It's as flat as you are going to get in this service. So with that, it's extremely easy to wheel hop, to drive it in a little too deep, miss your mark, and overshoot and cause a spin. So fortunately, these drivers haven't made any contact with anything. They're completely clean. They may have a little extra wear on the tires from spinning it out, but other than that, they're still in good shape. They're just at the disadvantage of the time constraints. And this is a great shot, Paul, to give you guys a really good opportunity to see how narrow this racetrack is and how little off area there is on this track as you follow race leader Zane Farrell around this circuit. Some of the turns, they have some limited runoff areas, but for the most part, you don't have a lot of area around this track. Take a look just down this straightaway. You have a wall, maybe a truck width and a half off of the racing line, but that's about it. You get into some of these chicanes, it opens up a little bit more, but boom, you get right back to the straightaway, and it's very narrow all the way down until you get down into this hairpin. Some runoff area here, and it's very easy to overshoot this turn as well. This is a very, very famous turn in some of the races that we've seen in real life, and a great passing opportunity. But as mentioned too, also very easy to make a mistake.
And we saw the leader get into a little bit of lap traffic. Jeff Brown on the start of the last lap just had an off in front of his teammate Zane Farrell. Farrell made the move past him. And we also had a very slow Kyle Casagrande in the 7 truck. And we talked about what to do with this racetrack, Kyle. If what not to do just happened, Kyle hit the wall to the left-hand side as the leader was coming up on him, and it almost like that thing couldn't get into gear. It's a little bit slow. There goes the 4th place driver, Brandon Newhouse, around him. He's struggling a little bit this evening, but it is a road course compared to the oval, and you know what? Yeah, that's not pit road, and that's not the racetrack. You let Evan Boiler go past in the 56 and continue on.
To be fair, boys, to be fair, Kyle Casagrande did just welcome a newborn baby into the world this week. Big Daddy Kyle Casagrande probably hasn't had much sleep throughout this week, so we're going to have to give him the benefit of the doubt here tonight, and congratulations to the Casagrande family. Uncle Corey was hanging out earlier on with his brother Kyle, and pretty cool to see that, within 4 or 5 years, we're going to be looking at a Casagrande driver possibly running in a Bandolero or a go-kart.
Kyle, I figured he had the French GPS plugged in and he couldn't figure out where he was.
Could be that as well. Yeah, definitely not the night that Big Daddy Kyle was hoping to have thus far, running back there in position number 18. He does have Ryan Salvatore about 8.5 seconds ahead of him for position, but that truck looking very beat up, that number 7 machine. So I think he might just be trying to limp it around here and just try to gain some experience for the next road course event. And actually, as I say that, he is a lap down, so my apologies for that. Back there in position number 18. There's Ryan Salvatore on your screen, the driver in position number 17, who is ahead of Casagrande now by about 10.5 seconds. So Ryan Salvatore starting to run away from him. Not really sure what happened with Ryan here, Tim. His truck looks in very good shape, so I don't know. Oh, there's a truck off in the hairpin here. I think that was the 29 machine of Jeff Brown down to the inside in the grass there in that hairpin turn. He's trying to get that truck back going again. And we got a problem with Corey Casagrande now. He crashes as well.
Yeah, we had an off with Scott McDonald as well in the 44. I kept off the corner of my eye, Kyle, watching the battle between Kopech, Aiello, and McDonald. And McDonald, I think, was trying to judge those two in front of him as Kopech has a moment there going through. I think McDonald was just trying to, if you're a road course guy or you're brand new to the road course, you kind of follow that guy in front of you to try to figure out the layout and the lay of the land and how you get around here. And McDonald was, I think, following around Anthony Aiello and just focused in on the back bumper of that number 31 for FPY Motorsports and just went straight and just got off the rail. Oh, hello, Dylan Kopech, and there goes Aiello. There goes the battle. Oh, well, that's not good.
Not good at all. A couple of very big shots there for Dylan Kopech and Anthony Aiello. Kopech still facing the wrong way on the racetrack. Aiello has been able to pull away, but he is puffing huge smoke out of the back end of that number 31 truck. Pretty big stuff there, Paul.
Yeah, just pulling it up now on the Raise Energy Drink Instant Replay. Not really sure what happened on the 6 truck of Dylan Kopech. He tried to turn it left, and it just went right into almost a right angle, a direct hit on the wall. So Big time damage for the number 6, and there you can see the black smoke pumping out of the back of that truck. That truck may very well be done for the evening. One thing to keep in mind, though, boys, Zane Farrell still up front leading this deal. John Peters, the champ, in second, but he's closed in about a second over the past couple of laps. 8.3 seconds a gap. Still quite a bit of distance here in Montreal, but really starting to close in the distance just a little bit.
Yeah, that he is. John Peters really starting to make some progress on closing in on race leader Zane Farrell. That gap was down to 8.2 seconds the last time they came across the line. Just about 28 and a half minutes left to go in this race. So there's definitely time on John Peters' side. He just has to make sure that he doesn't make any more of those mistakes moving forward. You're looking now here at the 79 machine. That is Michael Hopkins. He is in position number 5, trying to hold off the 4 machine of Kenny Kibbe. Kenny Kibbe, a pretty successful road racer of his own, showing that strength right here. Going to look to the inside, going into turn number 1. Doesn't have any room. Maybe he fakes Hopkins out. Hopkins pushes wide just a little bit, but he recovers for the right-hander, gets a good line, opens up the bottom on the exit. It'll be a race up through the gears as they come around the bend and get ready to go into turns number 3 and 4. Another right-left chicane before another quick little straightaway. Hopkins doing a good job of keeping Kenny Kibbe at bay. Kibbe with plenty of space to work with out of the back of that number 4 truck. He can afford to apply some pressure here, and he's going to look to the inside once again, thinks better of it, and will fall back in line.
And you look at the rear bumper of Kenny Kibbe's race truck right now, the left rear has some newer damage to it as he tries to pick up that spot on Hopkins. Got into the fence about a lap ago, and obviously Kyle not slowing him down, still trying to put the pressure on the... Oh, hello, there goes Hopkins. That's enough pressure. Hopkins will lose that spot to Kenny Kibbe after that little off, and I guess if you're going to let somebody go and let that position go, that's the easiest way to do it, as Kibbe will now pull away, and he's got a little ways to catch Evan Boiler in the number 56 truck. He's got about 20-ish plus seconds to get up to the 56 who's coming across to complete his lap number 10 right now. Once again, 45-minute timed race. We are perceiving this to be about a 26 or so lap race if you look at the ticker. But, Kyle, these guys are going to have to come down pit road, so that might shorten that time frame just a little bit. But speaking of shortening up the time frame, we got the 14 in lap traffic.
Indeed, we do. Your race leader closing in on the number 7 machine of Kyle Casagrande. He has DJ Girard ahead of him as well, so a couple trucks, and even looking up further up the road, Scott McDonald is there as well, so some lap traffic going to play a factor here. John Peters is still slowly working his way closer to Zane Farrell. That gap down to about 7.5 seconds now, so depending on how Zane is able to get through this lap traffic, it could be an opportunity for John to continue to close in here as we are slowly working our way to the halfway mark in this event already. Whoa, DJ Girard all sorts of sideways in front of Zane Farrell. He gathers it up, gives Farrell a nice lane to get around on the outside, and he will do so and head his way down the straight into the final chicane. And we'll try to continue to extend the gap over.
Scott McDonald's done a great job as well, trying to stay ahead of the leader after a couple of offs earlier in this race. Kyle, he sits in 11th, but he's right ahead of the leader, Zane Farrell, as Farrell will come across to complete his 11th lap here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as we now have 11 drivers scored on the lead lap, and the only driver that has called it a night is Anthony Aiello. He is disconnected from the server. 44 of McDonald goes a little wide ahead of the leader, and now Zane Farrell going to have to try to make that move on McDonald to put the 11th place truck one lap down. John Peters, closest truck to the leader, at least on the same lap, sits about 8 seconds or so behind, as McDonald will probably go one lap down here in this next set of corners.
That is the 11th place truck, Scott McDonald. So the drivers that have had some issues here in the opening circuit starting to fall off of the lead lap, and that'll only put 10 trucks on the lead lap after this. And looking at the timing and scoring right now, Tim, there's only the top 6 inside 1 minute of Zane Farrell's lead right now. So this 19 truck field very much spread out across this 2.71 mile road course. And It's showing so far that it's going to become a battle of attrition.
You got to keep the thing on the racetrack. Make sure you don't dip a wheel and fall off or have an issue on pit road coming to pit road. So Farrell right now doing everything that he needs to do. John Peters, Austin Bolke have both had issues so far this evening. Evan Boiler had that issue on the first lap trying to get by. And you just have to keep the thing straight and don't have any issues with your race truck. And you can come out a winner here as just looking through the field trying to see those battles. And it looks like for the most part, besides a couple of trucks that are nose to tail, everybody else has kind of found their way around and found a spot to race. I think the closest battle on the racetrack is Charles Lewandowski in the 0-1 and Jason Ricker in the 9. Haven't talked a whole lot about Jason Ricker this evening, but he's closing in on the Brembo number 0-1. That'll be a battle for position number 8 as we work closer to the halfway point in this thing.
Yeah, only about a second separating these two trucks here. You can see, well, you can't really see from the chopper camera, but some battle wounds on each of those trucks, not too badly damaged, and they're going to see what they can do here for position number 8. Lewandowski doing a good job of keeping Ricker back there for the moment. Ricker looks like he closed the gap going into the entry there. Both trucks kind of wiggle getting through that chicane, and Lewandowski will open the gap back up as they come back onto the straightaway and get back up to speed. They'll drive down into this hairpin turn. That is turn number 10. 13 turns make up this racetrack. So down here in turn number 10, the slowest turn on the racetrack, 90-degree hairpin. And then they'll work their way back up through the gears and get to the fastest part of the racetrack down this straightaway that leads them into the final chicane. So looking at 22 and a half minutes left to go. So I believe that puts us smack dab on the halfway mark at this point. So lead lap trucks are completing lap number 12 here at the moment. So about as predicted there, about 25 or 26 laps we're looking at here for this 45-minute main event.
Farrell has worked his way through the hairpin and will come up this time and take that unofficial halfway point or so in this race as we anticipate them to come down to pit road. I almost thought it was supposed to be 2 stops, but again, we said off the top of the show, what do I know? I'm up here and not in the box. So I would think these guys cannot go 45 minutes on fuel. They'll have to come down at least once. Farrell will take the opportunity to bypass pit road, come through the final couple of corners, and complete lap number 13 on the racetrack here. And John Peters is clicking away and chipping away a little bit at that gap as he comes down into pit road in the 51. So the second place driver takes his opportunity to come down. Behind him, Austin Bolke will stay on the racetrack. Evan Boiler actually has a battle, and it's it's not a battle for position. Maybe it is. It's Boiler and Roy going at it.
That indeed is a battle for position, and right in front of them, Michael Hopkins, also a lead lap truck. Oh, 2 of them make a mistake. Hopkins and Bullier make a mistake and push wide. The door opens for Brent Roy. He'll go side by side, but how about that run through the gears? Bullier will be able to keep Brent Roy back there. Roy going to lose about half a second already getting up to speed. So some mistakes there. Evan Bullier hangs on over Brent Roy. Now he's got his sights set on Michael Hopkins. Hopkins is a lead lap truck. I believe this is all going on for positions 4 through 6. We'll see officially what it is as they come across the stripe here. Bullier with a huge gain on Michael Hopkins, looking to the inside and makes very quick work of Michael Hopkins coming across the start-finish line, and that is for position number 5. So Bullier puts himself inside the top 5. Whoa, hang on, Brent Roy, big overshoot into that first chicane there. He's able to gather it up, but he went very wide into the braking zone. The lap truck of Matt Kinfield will let these guys go by, and now Roy and Hopkins going to go side by side into turn 3.
And Evan Boiler's already been on pit road. He's got the quick repair as well. You don't see any more damage on the back end of that race truck, so that might play into his advantage a little bit compared to some of these drivers that may not have been down on pit road yet. Speaking of pit road, though, here comes your leader. Zane Farrell going to come on to pit road here and surrender. I don't want to say surrender the lead, Kyle, because if Austin Bolke decides to come down pit road as well, he might still have the lead with the amount of time that he has on this racetrack. Zane Farrell may have the lead still when he comes off of pit road as the second place truck indeed going to come down onto pit road. So Zane Farrell, I don't think, is going to even lose the lead here.
Be interesting to see what your race leader Zane Farrell decides to do here. Roughly 10 or 11 laps to go. He's going to park it into his pit stall. See if it's going to be a fuel-only stop. No, the right sides are up. They're going to take tires. So we'll talk you through this pit stop. As you can see, John Peters on your screen working his way into that final chicane. Going to be a 4-tire pit stop for Zane Farrell. John Peters coming down the front straightaway. Farrell is leaving his pit stop now. He is clear of pit road. You can see him up in the distance, and I think he's going to have enough to beat John Peters, but the true battle is going to be won by John Peters. He cut the lead in half and then some. Roughly 3 seconds up ahead is Zane Farrell, so big advantage to John Peters on pit road.
Yeah, but the downside is he's going to pass a couple of trucks to get up to the leader, Dylan Kopech, in front of him being one, and Corey Casagrande being the other, in between Peters and the leader. Kopech, I believe, is going to let Peters go here, and as I say that, there goes the 14 around one more. Gerard is off the racetrack and out of the way of John Peters. Now the only truck that stands between John Peters and the leader is the leader's teammate, Corey Casagrande, in the 71.
So taking a look here at the pit stop from John Peters to see if there was any pit strategy that allowed Peters to close in on Zane Farrell, and he did the same thing. It was a 4-tire pit stop for John Peters as it was for Zane Farrell, so it may have been that extra lap of fresh tires allowed Peters to close in that for some seconds on Zane Farrell. He is struggling right now to get around Corey Casagrande, and if you look at Casagrande, that's a teammate to Zane Farrell, so Casagrande trying to do what he can to race John Peters without being disrespectful and stall that 51 truck just a little bit from getting up to the race leader, Zane Farrell.
So now closing in, we're obviously in the second half of this race as the leader will go by and complete lap number 15, this time by across the stripe. So Zane Farrell has approximately 10, 11-ish laps to go as we have 17 and a half minutes remaining in this race. John Peters in position at number 2, and we'll see if he can track down the leader. I would think he's going to get there as Corey Casagrande has an off just behind these two. He will spin that truck, no harm, no foul there, but I would think with the way Peters was reeling in your leader, I think he'll probably get there. Speaking of lap traffic, there's Jason Ricker going a lap down to the leader, Zane Farrell. I think Peters has enough. Question is, can he get by the 14?
That's always the true question. Catching them is one thing, passing them is another. And I think without a question, you're going to see a great battle here between the two best drivers all night long. And just hats off to John Peters for being able to keep himself in contention of this race after an early race spin. He made his mistake, he got it out of the way, and ever since then he has been pure money. He's been able to close the gap down, slowly working away at Zane Farrell's lead, and is just trying to give himself an opportunity to contend. We're looking at 16 and a half minutes left to go, about 8 or 9 laps left remaining in this race, so he still has plenty of time to do so, and you have to imagine that the closer he gets, the more pressure that Zane Farrell is going to start to feel in that rear mirror.
We're going to have a battle for the lead, I think, before this thing is over, Kyle. I think we're going to have a battle for third before this thing is over as well, because Evan Boiler in the 56 can spot the 24 of Bulky ahead of him as he tries to reel him in, and one more off by DJ Gerard ahead of this pack. You're going to see it here as Evan Boiler goes by, and that's going to slow down the 56 just a little bit. But I don't think it's going to affect him a whole lot. I think he's going to get to Bulky. I don't know if he's going to be able to make the move. In behind him, Brent Roy, solid 5th place effort here this evening as well. I don't know if he's going to be able to get to Evan Boiler. We've seen Evan run so well on these road courses, but we'll see what happens in the remaining 15 minutes or so of this race. Still plenty of time to make moves and make things happen as they come by across the stripe. Leaders have completed lap number 16.
Man, very rough night for... Oh, hang on! Oh, boy, we got a wild one there. In the final chicane, DJ Gerard spun himself around, and as he was trying to get the truck back pointed in the right direction, the 29 of Jeff Brown also had a mistake of his own, and the two of them met in the middle there in that little off-grass section in that hairpin. You see Kenny Kibbe able to get around without too many issues, so looks like that incident has cleared at just a 2-truck crash. So the gap was 2 seconds, 2.072 seconds between your top two here at the completion of lap number 16. So the gap slowly but surely starting to close, starting to evaporate on Zane Farrell. So Gotta imagine there's a lot of things going through his head right now. Pushes a little bit wide through that hairpin. Didn't get quite the perfect run through there. Oh, John Peters with a wiggle coming out of the hairpin there as well. So maybe that makes up for Zane Farrell's wide line there. It looks like it's about 2.6 seconds now as they come down the back straightaway. You'll get the official interval at the line. But now is where you really need to make sure you don't throw your race away. You're not going to have an opportunity to recover if you're John Peters and make another big mistake. There is just 14 minutes left in this race. You spin that truck around and it is signed, sealed, delivered. You will not go to victory lane.
Yeah, there's another 0.3 or so that Peters lost on that lap, and we've seen it from a couple of these trucks already tonight, Kyle. It's trying to put that power down out of the corner and trying to get the rear tires to grip. Peters has had that problem. We've had a couple of drivers have that slip as well. So you just have to, I hate to say you have to be flawless, but in order to win this race, if you're one of these top two, you can't make those mistakes. The gap continues to be about 2.1 seconds or so. It seems like Peters is better in the opening couple of corners of these laps, but it seems like through the hairpin on that Zane Farrell is able to flex his muscle a little bit. So I think if that move is going to be made, it's going to be made in the early corners of this racetrack as your top two continue to play a little cat and mouse and chase each other around here. Charles Lewandowski about to go a lap down. He's directly ahead of the leader.
Lewandowski only about a second ahead of Zane Farrell, and then it's about another 15 seconds up to where Michael Hopkins is, the position 8 truck. So once they get around this 01 machine, they should be able to run a couple laps in the clear. Lewandowski going to give plenty of space to Zane Farrell, get him around on the inside. He'll get back into line. John Peters a little too far back for him to pull a 2-1, and something is up with Zane Farrell. Makes a mistake there, gets off into the grass a little bit. That is going to cost him about a second worth of time. John Peters taking advantage of it. No mistakes out of him coming out of the hairpin. He is closing in on the gap and now wants to get around Lewandowski as quickly as he can.
Where does he get to Lewandowski? That's not a great place to make that pass coming off the final corner, but he's going to have to try to get around this 01 somehow and not lose any more time. It's now cut down to 1.3 seconds between your top two, so he cut down a second there thanks to the lap traffic, but it's kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit in the last couple laps. We had Peters spin the tires coming off the hairpin. We've had Zane Farrell catch lap traffic at the wrong place and have that little bit of a bobble. And they've kind of fumbled the ball back and forth a little bit here. And it's uncharacteristic out of these drivers who run so well in this NEPS SuperTrucks in the Shift Marketing and Design Grand National Series. It might come down to who doesn't make the mistake when it counts here in the final 10 minutes or so. We got 11:45 left in this race.
It very well may be the case. Time winding away. The battle for the lead is starting to get more and more intense. And barring anything really drastic and crazy happening, you're looking at your winner here within these top two trucks. Down to just 8 trucks on the lead lap. If the leaders are able to catch Michael Hopkins, that'll put him down 1 lap. Hopkins and Uhouse the next 2 to go a lap down. Those 2 trucks, they're not too terribly far away from each other. Oh, big slide for Zane Farrell in the hairpin. He nearly goes around, gathers it up as in the grass, but there goes John Peters around the outside to the race lead. Zane Farrell sliding that truck at about a 180-degree angle in the hairpin, gives up the race lead to John Peters, and is now about a second and a half back as he's trying to give chase.
And Peters had to make evasive action to try to get by that. We'll cue up the Rays Energy Drink instant replay to see what happened there. And Paul, we mentioned mistakes. It was one from Zane Farrell that cost him the lead.
Yeah, tough break for the 14 truck of Zane Farrell, really dominating this race so far here tonight. We're going to take a quick peek at the Rays Energy Drink instant replay, and you can see coming into the corner here, he just loses the back end of the race truck, just completely brings it all the way around. Like Kyle said, almost a full 180, gathers it back up, but doesn't have enough traction in the grass to get back up to speed before John Peters gets around him. The gap now is a second as we're still under green. No caution here throughout this 45-minute race.
And taking a look at Zane Farrell after the mistake, he is really putting the pace underneath that 14 truck. Oh, and he's going to make another mistake. Slides it sideways, gathers it back up. He was trying to make up for the lost time and lost some more time. That gap now about 2.5 seconds back to John Peters. So those Goodyear Eagles underneath of Zane's 14 truck not agreeing with the way that he wants to drive them. They are slipping and sliding underneath of him, and he is starting to struggle here in the final stages of this event.
Final couple of laps here being run, less than 10 minutes to go, 9:30 on the score clock as you ride on board with Zane Farrell trying to catch up to John Peters, and just far enough back to still have a little bit of pressure on the leader, but not really a whole lot to make that move per se. I think the biggest battle we're going to have in this racetrack before it's done is the battle for position number 3, is Austin Bulkey and Evan Boiler are going to have a battle amongst themselves. Boiler has been consistently quicker each lap than Bulkey. They got Jason Ricker right ahead of them in the number 9, but I think that's going to be the battle. Brent Roy's kind of fallen off the pace a little bit of this third place tilt, but I think Boiler's got enough to get there. He's got enough time to get there. When does he get there, and when does he make the move?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty fair assessment, Tim. The gap is down to just 2 seconds between the two of them. A few laps ago, it was a 5-second gap, so Evan Boiler doing a really good job of reeling in the 24 of Austin Bulkey. Oh, he messes up that hairpin just a little bit, gets a little too much curb, kisses the outside wall just a bit. Surprisingly, doesn't really lose too much time to Austin Bulkey, so he may have just gotten away with one. Bulkey is having his hands full with the lapped truck of Jason Ricker at the moment. Ricker taking the inside line. That's going to force Bulkey to the outside, and that could allow Boiler to gain a few more tenths as well. Ricker finally drops off the pace, lets the 24 machine go on by, and yeah, looking like that cost him about 3 or 4 tenths having to go around the outside of Jason Ricker there in turn 2.
And now Evan Boiler has to get by Jason Ricker, and those two are on the team main channel, I believe, so it might be a little bit easier. There goes Ricker pulling off, and Evan Boiler going by, and a little bit of a slide for the number 56 as well. So not completely clean to get by. Kyle lost a little bit of ground with that four-wheel drift, but not enough for Brent Roy to be in the picture, and not enough for him to lose sight on Austin Bulkey in front of him. So I still think we're going to have a battle for that third place spot before this thing is all said and done. Field is working lap number 21 here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as John Peters continues to lead this thing, and he's pulled it out by almost over 2 seconds. It was 2.5 the last time by, but Zane Farrell trying to chip away at it. He's not going down without a fight.
No, he definitely won't. You got to imagine Zane's probably a little steamed underneath the helmet inside that machine, giving up the lead based off of mistakes. So at the line this time by 2.944 seconds, the gap between your top two. That is a 4/10 separation in favor of John Peters from that last lap. So the FPY Motorsports number 51 Toyota Tundra doing what it needs to do out in front of this field. And barring a few very small little hiccups, Tim, John has looked very, very good ever since that spin early on in this race. Nothing major, anything close to that. He's coming through that area of the racetrack right now. Does a much better job of swaying that truck from left to right across this racetrack, doing a good job getting through the gears, not putting too much throttle under the rear end. Really, really cracking down and making that 51 truck look as smooth as silk as he can around this racetrack.
Taking a look through this field, we might have a battle between teammates. The 79 of Mike Hopkins, the 3 of Brandon Newhouse, the team student drivers, battling back for position number 7, and it's becoming a battle now because Mike Hopkins is doing what he just did a couple of corners ago and almost having it off. So battle for position number 7 as they continue on throughout this one, but for the most part between that battle for third and that battle for position number 7, at least on the lead lap right now, there's really not a whole lot of pressure throughout this field.
And that battle is going on about 7 seconds ahead of race leader John Peters. So these two trucks fighting for position amongst each other as teammates, still trying to cling on to the lead lap here in the closing stages. Just under 5.5 minutes to go. I'm not too sure how confident I feel about them staying ahead of John Peters. I think John can probably catch them here in these final couple laps. But after that, these two drivers might be the last two that your race leaders are going to have to deal with. 10 seconds ahead of where Brandon Newhouse is right now is where Scott McDonald is, and then Matt Kenfield is up ahead of them. So I don't feel like your race leaders are going to get that far, but I feel like there's probably a good opportunity for them to get to Brandon Newhouse and Michael Hopkins.
The thing that kind of concerns me with this battle is Hopkins has pulled away a little bit from Brandon Newhouse, but we've seen Hopkins a couple of times dip some wheels and have a couple of offs, and we saw it on the last lap. If they continue to, I don't want to say let the rough side drag, but kind of, overshoot and miscalculate some of these corners, and John Peters happens to be on them, Peters might have to work tiptoeingly away around these two trucks, but continues to be the Hopkins machine leading the Newhouse machine for position number 7, the two team student drivers on this racetrack as they work lap number 22. Our ticker shows 4 laps to go, and it might be it might be 1 lap less than that. We'll see what time it gives us, but we have 4 minutes to go in this 45-minute race.
So taking a look at John Peters, where he is at right now on the racetrack, coming down this long straightaway. Probably going to be about 3.5 minutes left to once he gets to the start-finish line. So it's going to be really determining when he gets back to the line this next time by if we're going to see the white flag or not. The way that iRacing works is if you get to the start-finish line with less time available than there is to complete a full lap, the white flag will fly. So right about now, the last lap time John ran was a 146.512. He comes across the stripe this time at a 147.029 with 3 minutes and 25 seconds or so left to go in the race. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe this next lap is going to be the white flag lap, but it's going to be really close.
We'll have to see what transpires. Our battle for third is getting hot as the lapped truck of, I believe that may be Jeff Brown, in the middle of those two. Bulky caught him at the wrong place, Kyle, and now Evan Boyler's got, oh, hello, Jeff Brown, and up and over, and that's going to kill what was left of the battle for position number 3. And Evan Boyler's truck is destroyed. It should give Brent Roy a chance at position number 4, and there goes the 26 by, and man, that's tough for the 56 of Evan Boyler. I thought he was going to have at least 4th, maybe 3rd locked up. We'll take one more look at this in the Race Energy Drink instant replay. And Paul, there's really nothing Evan Boyler could have done here.
Yeah, real tough break. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong lap for sure. There you can see the 56 closing up big time on the back of Jeffrey Brown, and just loses the truck somehow, and man, just hits that wall a ton and backs in over the air, over the top of the front of the nose of the 56, expires both the 56 and the 29 motor, and you'll be able to see the 26 of Brent Roy moving into that 4th position. So that's good news for Brent, bad news for the 56 and the 29.
Yeah, absolute heartbreak for Evan Boyer. He's going to have to try to limp that truck around here and see what he can salvage for a finish. Now, the good news for him is that there's only 8 trucks on the lead lap, so he should still be able to score a top 10 finish. But you can see as he's putzing around this racetrack, lots of smoke coming out of the back end of that machine. He's just hoping that it doesn't blow up between now and the finish. So we're going to take a look at John Peters here. He has, well, actually, he's in turn number 2, so he's already gone by the start-finish line. I would assume that if we were on the white flag lap, our ticker would be showing that, so I'm guessing that that is accurate and that we have 2 laps to go this time by, so we should see the white flag next time for John Peters, who has opened up a 4.3 second lead over Zane Farrell.
Yeah, we'll see what transpires here as Peters works through the final couple of moments. This is the final minute clicking down on this race, and Zane Farrell did a great job for the most part here, kept the thing on the racetrack, couple of spun tires, couple of offs, but going to come home with 2nd, and then Bulky again in 3rd. Those are the 3 trucks at the start, Kyle, that were away from that lap number 1 wreck. So they did what they had to do early, and it looks like they're going to come home with the top 3 positions as John Peters works through the hairpin, and he's going to have to get by Mike Hopkins, who I think he's going to grab a gear and get going again, but he had a slight spin there.
pretty thick lap traffic up ahead of race leader John Peters here, so my assumptions were wrong. He's going to have to deal with a few of them. Michael Hopkins in the 79. Then you've got Scott McDonald. Jeffrey Brown is up here, well off the pace. He's going to get out of the way. You're going to see John get around him right here. And then I believe Matt Kenfield also in the sights here for John Peters. So he'll work his way through the final chicane for the penultimate time. No, for the final time, checkered flag is going to fly. This is it for John Peters. He is going to take the victory in the north of the border 45 here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. The time was enough the last time by to take the white flag, and the checkered flag flies on John Peters, overcoming an early race spin, and he goes to victory lane tonight here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Zane Farrell, dominating run, but you got to imagine he's going to be very disappointed with a second place finish. And well, you would think that you can go through the rest of the finishing grid, but we still have trucks coming across the line. Austin Bolke just now crosses the stripe. He will finish in position number 3. We'll be able to go back to Brent Roy and watch him cross the finish line. He is just barely going to be able to hold off Kenny Kibbe for position number 4, and then Kenny Kibbe will round out your top 5 finishers here tonight in Montreal.
Yeah, Kenny Kibbe dug deep there at the end to pick up position number 5 and get close to Brent Roy in position number 4. Obviously, Evan Boiler was running up in the top 5 for a while before that incident with Jeff Brown. Evan Boiler going to come home in position. He's scored in position number 6 right now, but he is still on pit road, so that may change. Mike Hopkins, depending. He was ahead of the leader, so I think he should be able to finish on the lead lap per se. Is actually Hopkins is battling with, well, not a lap truck battle or lead lap truck battle, but Kentfield and McDonald are actually still battling here for what would be position number 12, the penultimate and last truck, one lap down as Kentfield leads that field towards the final couple of corners.
Probably going to be the final battle of the race. Scott McDonald hard on the brakes. They're both going to shove wide. McDonald probably going to get a slowdown penalty for cutting the course, and that is going to hand that one over to Matt Kenfield. He's going to hang on to position number 12. Michael Hockman's going to slide around, and sliding across the line is Matt Kenfield putting a nose punch to the inside wall there. And, oh no, Kenfield's being shown as 13th. He may not have cleared his penalty prior to coming across the line. Scott McDonald did, so McDonald is going to get rewarded that spot. So give position 12 to Scott McDonald, and Matt Kenfield is going to fall back to 13th with the slowdown penalty.
And as you saw there, Mike Hopkins finishes on the lead lap. He'll move to 6th. Boiler will be the first driver. Scored one lap down, not completing this race in position number 7. You look at the second half of the field, Jason Ricker, Scott McDonald, Matt Kenfield. We saw that battle coming across the stripe. DJ Gerard, Kyle Casagrande struggled here this evening. They both finished, though, 3 laps down apiece. Jeff Brown, Dylan Kopech, 4 laps down apiece. And Anthony Aiello and Ryan Salvatore did not finish the race. They completed 18 laps down, completing 7 of the 25 here this evening as John Peters celebrates on the French straightaway.
It's never any surprise to see John Peters in a victory lane. Not really too surprising to see him have any kind of success with these NEPS guys, and he does so again here tonight. Man, you know, he made that one mistake early on in the race, and we thought that, 8-9 seconds back out of the lead, it's going to be very tough for him to run this field down. Of course, he had enough time to be able to do it, but he wasn't really gaining a lot of time on Zane Farrell as he was trying to run him down. But once he got within about 2 seconds or so, the pressure started getting to the 14 of Farrell just a little bit, and that's when we really started to see the mistakes come out of that 14 truck. And I will get to hear from him and get his side of things from behind the wheel of that number 14 Ford Performance Ford F-150. Zane, a runner-up finish tonight. Oh, man, it's got to be a little heartbreaking coming home in position number 2. You led a lot of laps tonight. You drove that truck absolutely to its fullest. But late in the going, when it mattered the most, some mistakes may have cost you this win tonight. What was it like from inside the truck?
Yeah, at the beginning of the run, it wasn't too bad, but whenever I got going, I got out to an early lead there, and I was watching my relative there, and I saw Austin and John battling out, and then it looks like they had an accident, and I pulled ahead, and I started taking it easy, but after that pit cycle there, I started messing up every corner I went into, and especially the next to last corner of the hairpin. When I kept downshifting, it kept wheel hopping, and then I think I screwed up 3 laps in a row in the same spot, and the third time was a charm. I finally spun out then.
How challenging was this racetrack tonight? We may mention throughout the show here that this is a very unique racetrack in that it's virtually completely flat. There's not a lot of elevation change, certainly no banking, and with as many sharp hairpin turns that there are, it's very easy to make mistakes on this racetrack, overshoot turns, spin yourself out, and it seemed like at times it got the best of you tonight. How challenging was this place truly to handle with these NASCAR trucks?
It really was a handful. You had to be on the wheel every lap, and you couldn't give it. If you gave it a little bit too much on the throttle, on your throttle pickup, you were spinning out regardless. I did it a couple times, but managed to save it.
I'm sure there's some thoughts of what could have been in this race, but let's not take away from the positive. Still a second place finish. You were the highest finishing driver amongst your team. After a wild finish last week at Las Vegas, I'm sure it still feels good to be able to put yourself on the podium and represent your team very well.
Yeah, it was a good race. I had a lot of fun, actually. I always like going to road courses because I know that's where, in the past couple of years, I know that's where I like to excel at. So, I mean, congrats to John. He ran a hell of a race. You know, he was mistake-free the last couple laps, and I was saying, you know, come on, John, you're due for another one, man. Come on, spin out going into that quarter.
Well, you definitely made yourself known as a road course contender here tonight for moving forward. A great second place run for you. Who would you like to thank for the effort?
I'd like to thank my teammates, then Field Fillers Motorsports. They gave me a great truck. Corey did a good job tonight. We missed David. Jeff Brown, he kept us informed on all the info for the race and whatnot.
So there is your runner-up finisher tonight for Field Filler Motorsports. The 14 machine of Zane Farrell led a lot of laps in the first half of this race, sacrificed the lead to John Peters and just was not able to get it back, and came home runner-up tonight up in Canada. Tim, I believe that you have caught up with our bottom step podium finisher, the third place driver. That is the 24 machine of Austin Bolke.
Yeah, I believe John Peters is still over there talking to the French media in RDS, so we'll catch up with Austin, who finished in position number 3 here this evening. Austin, did you see Evan Boiler getting bigger in that rearview mirror? How much did you pay attention to those guys behind you in the last couple laps?
Yeah, I saw him getting quite a bit bigger in the last couple laps. I was checking the relative pretty frequently to make sure I still had a good gap to him. At the end, lap traffic was a huge factor in that. I got held up pretty bad a couple times, but they're running their own race. There's not much you can do about it.
Usually with these races here with the Shift Marketing and Design Grand National Series, we have that random caution about halfway through or near the end of the race where, we get to slow down, collect our thoughts, take a deep breath. We didn't have any caution here tonight, obviously, with the Daytona 24 last week running. There was a lot of drivers, I believe, including yourself, that did that race. How much did it change the strategy a little bit here, knowing that there wasn't going to be a caution and we had to come down pit road?
Yeah, it was mostly just taking care of your tires and making sure you didn't overuse them. And then at some point, try to undercut the field if you can. Unfortunately, I think I missed that myself personally by a couple laps. So gave up the opportunity to gain a couple seconds on my competitors and try and make sure the lead after we came out of the pits in front of Evan was larger. But it is what it is. It still came out in the third. It really made sure you had to hit every corner just right and not overstep the tires.
Third place finish gives you a little bit of momentum, a little shot in the arm for the final couple of weeks of this series. Are we going to park this truck in victory lane before this thing is all said and done and put your team on the top step of the podium here?
Gosh, I hope so. Libby set a pretty high precedent last week when he won, so hopefully we can bring home another one for Team BBY.
Now, with him not being here tonight, was there any team orders given by Ryan to get this thing into victory lane?
No, I think he just said, quote, "I won't be there tonight."
Oh, well, there we go. At least the truck is in one piece for Bibby for next week. Who else you got in this race truck? Who else you want to thank for this third place effort tonight?
I want to thank the good Lord, my parents, all the boys back at the shop, Chevrolet for hooking us up with such a fast piece, Brent for showing up to the race, the only other Team BBY car here, as you mentioned, and you guys, of course, for broadcasting this. These broadcasts are really special.
And it's great to see Austin on the podium. That's Austin Bolke coming home position number 3 here this evening. We still do not have the champ here. He is still busy with the French-speaking media. I didn't know he knew that much French, Kyle. I believe we have the only Canadian in the field, though, so if we can't interview the winner, you may as well interview Brent Roy.
Yeah, I guess we can step on down and talk to Brent Roy, our fourth place finisher here tonight. Brent, very strong run for you. Ran a very, very good race. Had a lot of passing to do. And on that first lap with all the chaos that ensued, you started back in 18th out of 19 trucks. I'm sure you had a very good view of all of that. Take us through that wild opening lap.
Oh man, yeah, that was pretty wild. It's just keep all the fenders on it and try to dodge the landmines. And I had a feeling it was going to kind of be something like that, where you get a couple spun here or there in turn 1, and then turn 3 and 4, and I think we get tagged there at I don't know, 2 or 3 laps in, and had to recover a little bit. But pretty up and down race. I got into the back of Brandon Newhouse there on the exit of the chicane, and wrecked us both there, so we both had to pit right away. So we forced our hand with the fuel mileage, but we ended with about, I don't know, 3/4 of a gallon. So timed it right, I guess.
I'll ask you the same thing I asked Zane. I'm pretty sure every driver at some point tonight faced challenges from this racetrack and made mistakes along the way. How challenging was this racetrack for you throughout the entirety of this race?
It's a challenging course. It's really flat. It's there's got a lot of signs around it, but there's really no like natural markers for your braking points and stuff like that. So it's really difficult. And then you put 20 trucks in it, it becomes pretty narrow pretty quick. So it was really a big case of not making mistakes or minimizing those, and just keeping your nose clean.
Late in the race, you had to hold off a hard charging Kenny Kibbe. Kenny is no slouch on these road courses. He's very accomplished on the left and right hand turn racetracks. You did your job, though. Held him off by about 0.8 of a second, but I'm sure seeing that number 4 truck closing in on your rearview mirror probably applied a little extra pressure to you in the closing minutes.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to have a little bit of a gap there where you could be a little bit conservative and just not be forced into a mistake. And I tried to just maintain the gap so he wouldn't get close to me, and we did just that. So nice 3rd and 4th place finish for our team here tonight.
There were only 2 of you that showed up for the BBY Motorsports game, but you made it the best of it. 3rd and 4th place run. You get the 4th. Who would you like to thank?
We got Recar on the truck here with this. Kind of the first time I put one of the real life sponsors on one of my sim cars. I work there at here in town selling some cars, so happy to see the black and the green on the truck and fly that here in the country of Canada.
A very good run for Brent Roy. Biggest mover on the field, up 14 positions, and the lone Canadian in the race finishes it off inside the top 5 with a 4th place effort. Tim, it appears that the French reporters have released our race winner. They are done with him, so now it's our turn, and you have made your way down to victory lane with John Peters.
He's done his French media obligations, spoke with RDS, and now John Peters joins us here as the winner. John, let's talk about the battle with Zane Farrell. You guys back and forth for most of the second half of that race after the pit stop. What was going through your mind when you kind of saw Zane made that little bit of a mistake for you to capitalize in the lead?
Yeah, pretty much just that. I figured if I could get close enough that he could see me in his mirror, in theory, he would slip up at least one time, and he did. But Zane ran a great race. He had obviously gotten a nice cushy lead that he could kind of be comfortable and ride out there. So I had my work cut out for me, but I was able to get close enough there on that pit strategy, just coming a lap early. I came as soon as I saw the halfway mark of the race and knew I could make it on fuel. Figured a set of new tires is probably worth 3 or 4 seconds. And it worked out that way, cut his lead in just about half, and then put some pressure on and was able to get the lead and then not make a mistake myself, which was not easy at this place. What a weird, challenging combination of car and track.
With these races that we run, at least on the road courses with the Grand National Series, we usually see a caution throughout the race. With no caution here, and with the off that you had or the spin that you had earlier in the night, how did you reset yourself and your focus to try to get back up here and take the lead eventually and take the win?
Yeah, just make sure I didn't make that mistake again or any other similar mistake. I didn't want to do that in the first place. I kind of got behind Austin there, and I got close to his back bumper, and it was hard to see, and I just got a little too throttle happy, and thankfully did a little semi-spin and didn't hit anything, just fired it into reverse. But I figured after that, no more mistakes, even if I have to back up the corner a couple truck lengths sooner, just do that. And I definitely did that there towards the end, the last 3 or 4 laps, and I had a few seconds on Zane. Just kind of went about 80% and made sure I kept all 4 tires on the track. But there's not a lot of track here. You probably, I don't know, got 30, 40 feet left and right. Any little mistake could be major disaster, which I think we saw towards the end of the race there. Jeff Brown got off the track, and we had 2 drivers get medevac to the hospital. So that was always possible at this track. Had to make sure you just limit your mistakes.
Well, you come home with the win once again here. A great effort by this 51 team. Who makes it happen for you? Who's on this race truck, and who got you to victory lane tonight?
Yeah, shout out to Team FPY. Thanks to Michael Bennett for drafting me and putting me on this team. I appreciate Shift and Vidane, you guys, Tim, Paul, Kyle for doing this. Shout out to my parents. I got a stern warning before this race. My dad said he wasn't going to put any more front clips on this truck, so I better not wreck it. I tried to tell him that I wasn't trying to wreck myself so far in this series, but he was adamant about that, so thankfully I kept it off the wall. Thanks to my girlfriend and my dog for letting me do this. Thanks to everybody for watching, and thanks to our partners, Runs for North America, Libby Septic, Four Seasons Synthetic, Turn 4 Automotive, and Digby's Variety.
Congratulations again on the win. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, boys, and I'll tune into you guys doing your trucking through California on Twitch there.
Yeah, me and Paul have some trucking to do. That's John Peters. Paul, we're gonna have to get him on the truck, and maybe see if we get a convoy together.
We're going to drive the truck because people love the truck. But man, oh man, great road racing action here for the Shift Marketing and Design north of the border. 45 minutes here at the road course in Montreal. Not even going to bother trying the track name because, I butchered it about 4 times already this evening. But great race. Congratulations to the champ, John Peters. A great battle between he and Zane Farrell. Zane Farrell with a strong finish here in the second position, and Bulky in the 24, rounding out the top 3. Great racing action, and looking forward to next Friday night and the SuperTruck series. And that's before we get to next Friday night, we got a lot of action coming up here to your faces here. Taking a look at the schedule right now. Tomorrow night we've got the Sim 500 Vidane Super Speedway Series last race before the chase. Going to be taking the 10 drivers, the 8 winners and the top 2 in points without a win, throwing them into the bracket for the championship battle, and that is going to be kicking off tomorrow night. But before that, a little bit of Tim's Corner Motorsports actions. Cup cars at Dover. You got a little bit of inside information on that, Tim?
Yeah, we threw together another one of our special event races. It's a Saturday night special. We've been doing some different stuff rather than what we usually do with the Super Late. So we did the SKs at the start of the month at Stafford. We went last week, did a different combination, and now we're going to do the Cup car at Dover. So if you're out there watching and you want to get some laps in, maybe you're not doing anything on a Saturday night, shoot us a message at TCM, and we'll get you in the field and have some fun with the Cup cars at Dover. We're going to do the heat races and the consies like we usually do, and then do 100 laps at Dover prior to the Sim 500 race. So get out there. Let's put together some racing, and let's have some fun tomorrow night.
Absolutely. And then Sunday night, a little bit of doubleheader action. The East Coast Winter League closing out their season. We're doing a doubleheader. We're doing the Tour Modifieds, the light division. I believe Josh Parker's still leading the points in that division. I ran a couple of races myself, got myself a couple of top tens, but then I realized it wasn't very good, so I ended up not running the rest of the season. But they're also running the Pro Series tomorrow or Sunday night as well, so that'll be super exciting. Monday night, the NEPS drivers, the Shift Marketing and Design Grand National Series, returning to us Monday night, 8:15 start. Tuesday night, the RBR Maritime group comes back at us, and then Wednesday night, the Showtime Cup Series running at Richmond International Speedway. That's going to be pretty exciting, and then right back to where we started. Thursday, Friday, a little double dose of NEPS, the Grand National Series Thursday night, and the SuperTrucks returning to us Friday. So lots of action coming up here on Vidane TV. Lots of marketing and advertising space available as well. So if you're looking to get your brand out there on one of these races, give us a shout. Shoot us a direct message or a Facebook message or any kind of message that you see fit, and we can definitely work out any kind of budget that you may or may not have. So really looking forward to all the action. Check out vidane.net/events to get the full schedule. We are booked solid all the way through the month of May. very excited to say that we've got at least 4 races a week all the way up through the first half of 2021. So definitely not a flash in the pan here at Verdane TV. We're here to stay, and we're here to entertain the masses. Do want to make mention, we have added some new items over at the Verdane TV merchandise tents. Check that out, verdane.net/shop. We got a lot of Angry Tree Guy stuff in there, Visual Pollution, some Too Drunk Esports stuff in there, and be sure to pay attention to social media because we got a lot of big-time announcements coming with that Too Drunk Esports team that we just founded here, myself and John Adams, and Butterbean as well, or Brandon Queen action in there as well. So lots of cool stuff coming up here on Verdane TV. Lots of cool stuff coming up here for Too Drunk Esports, and lots of cool stuff coming up for Tim's Corner Motorsports as well. But for myself, Verdane TV, everybody here with the NEPS Grand National Series, and the SuperTruck Series as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here tonight, and be sure to check the replay out over on the YouTube. It's a beautiful 1080p quality replay. Pull that up on the big screen, and if you're watching on a projector or a big screen TV, or you're having yourself a little watch party at the shop, be sure to snap off a picture and post it to social media. Use hashtag VerdaneTV to join the conversation. But that's going to do it here for us tonight. We will join you guys tomorrow night. A little doubleheader action. We got the Tim's Corner Motorsports Cup Series, so to speak, at Dover International Speedway. That's going to be a big-time fun race, and the last race getting into the chase before we try and crown a champion there at the Sim 500 Verdane Racing Super Speedway Championship. The winner of that championship is going to get the free rent-a-race car street stock rental at Stafford Motor Speedway, as well as the gorgeous championship belt that's actually sitting right over my shoulder right here. But again, that's going to do it here for Verdane TV. We'll catch you guys on the flip side, and when we do, we're going to be doing it live. Thank you so much. Have a great night.